Pourtant, en ce début d'année 68, la Tchécoslovaquie s'apprête à vivre son printemps. En janvier, Alexander Dubček est nommé premier secrétaire du Parti communiste et porte rapidement en lui les espoirs de liberté de la population tchèque. Il remplace les anciens staliniens de son gouvernement par des socialistes plus libéraux. On parle de rénovation, de socialisme à visage humain, et les rues de Prague ressemblent de plus en plus à un film de Milos Forman. Et signe du réchauffement des relations entre l'Est et l'Ouest, les autorités tchèques accordent à Milos Forman le droit de partir en Amérique afin d'y réaliser un film pour la Paramount. Le cinéaste va donc découvrir un pays et une ville qui vivent eux aussi un certain printemps.
I went first to see New York and think about what to do, you know. I saw Hair, the musical. I wanted to do Hair already then because I was fascinated by hippies. Because for a young person living in communist society where you are being told what you can do, what you can't do, what you can say, what you can't say, suddenly you see these young people being so free, you know, have the hairdo as they wanted, saying whatever they wanted, being dressed as they wanted. It was just wonderful. But the rights for hair were so complicated, forget it. So I asked Jean-Claude Carrière to come to New York, which he was so kind and did, and let's go around and see. I would like to make a film about hippies.
Jean-Claude Carrière, donc. L'écrivain et scénariste habite lui aussi un havre de paix, mais en plein cœur du 9e arrondissement de Paris. Et il a gardé de cette période new-yorkaise des souvenirs et quelques photos.
Je me trouve au Mexique en février 68, quand je reçois soudain un coup de téléphone de Milos qui me dit « Je suis à New York, j'ai un projet avec Claude Berry, j'aimerais travailler avec toi. On your way back, sur le retour de Mexico à Paris, est-ce que tu pourrais pas t'arrêter à New York que je ne connaissais pas ?» Je lui ai dit « Oui, ça ne se refuse pas, évidemment. » Donc je suis arrivé à New York vers la fin mars 68, hôtel Chelsea, bien entendu, nous avions chacun une chambre, et c'était la grande époque de l'explosion de ce qu'on appelait les hippies, c'est-à-dire ce mouvement de peace and love avant la lettre, sur lequel nous avions envie de faire un film. On a commencé à travailler à l'hôtel Chelsea en nous inspirant de tous les gens qui étaient autour de nous et qui étaient tous plus jeunes. Nous avions déjà 35 ans, Milos et moi. La génération des hippies avait 15 ans de moins. Ils allaient vraiment assez loin, à la fois dans l'usage du sexe, disons, la pratique du sexe et des drogues. Là, ils sont allés plus loin. Moi, je suis allé dans des parties certains soirs où vous arriviez, on vous ouvrait la porte et on vous mettait une pilule dans la bouche. Avant même que vous rentriez, vous preniez un verre d'eau et sinon vous n'entrez pas. Donc si on voulait participer, il fallait prendre, sans savoir même ce que c'était. On était quand même un peu cinglés. Alors on tombait sur des gens à demi-nus, entourés de chaînes, enfin tout ce qu'on peut imaginer de plus extravagant.
I remember you well in the Chelsea Hotel. You were talking so brave and so sweet.
Chelsea Hotel is the world by itself, you know. It's amazing. It was absolutely unique because the owner of the Chelsea Hotel, Peter Stanley Bart, you know, he was like this Medici. He was like a patron of the arts, and he would allow you to do anything in his hotel, you know. You could, for example, right above me in the room was a man living with an alligator, snakes, and a monkey, you know. It was fine, you know. But then in April, suddenly, you know, Martin Luther King is assassinated. Riots in Watts. Television, every day you see the most incredible things happening right there. And we couldn't concentrate on working on our little tiny, story. So Jean-Claude said, listen, let's leave New York. We can't work here. Let's go to Paris. So we went to Paris in May. We started to work in May. Boom! Revolution in Paris started in May. So Jean-Claude was on the barricade, so, all day long I was sitting waiting for him in the hotel room. Again, we couldn't work. So finally I said, listen, forget about it. Let's go to Prague. Prague, Dubček era, everything is beautiful, people are happy. So we went to Prague.
Mais à Prague, la situation a changé depuis l'exil de Milos Forman. Dubček et ses désirs d'émancipation inquiètent de plus en plus l'URSS de Brejnev, qui ne veut pas entendre parler d'une rénovation en Tchécoslovaquie. Les tentatives de conciliation se multiplient, mais en vain. Finalement, l'URSS décide de réprimer l'élan de liberté de la jeunesse tchèque par la force. Dans la nuit du 20 au 21 août 1968, 6 000 chars et 700 000 soldats envahissent la Tchécoslovaquie. C'est la fin du printemps de Prague.
Every foreigner was telling us, be careful, the Russians are coming. No one Czech believed it. We didn't believe at all that Brezhnev could be so stupidly arrogant to do it. Because all what Dubček wanted was to reform communism, and suddenly, for the first time since 1948, the communists had a support of the whole people. Everybody supported Dubček, the reforms, I was in Paris in that moment when it happened. We left Prague like 3 days before with Jean-Claude. So nobody believed it. It was a shock.
Dans les jours qui suivent l'invasion soviétique, les débats houleux s'engagent, mais rien n'y fait. Toutes les réformes sont gelées. La jeunesse tchèque, celle qu'a tant filmé Milos Forman, va bientôt disparaître dans le silence, et pour longtemps.
The very strict, ideological control, descended upon all the facets of human life in the country without anybody believing it. Because in the 50s, there was still a certain segment of population of communists who really believed that they are doing something good, that they are really, building a new society, better society. It was not a huge, segment of population, but it was. These people didn't exist anymore. And it was some kind of a quiet, unspoken agreement between the government and the people. You don't meddle in politics, you don't disturb us, and we will not disturb you. You can work, you can go and see the football matches and drink your beer. We will leave you alone, but don't dare to provoke us. And that was the life. I am basically a coward, so I didn't dare to go and return to Prague and bring my family out. But Claude Berry and Jean-Pierre Rassam offered to go there. And because Claude Berry's car was broken, so he borrowed a car from François Truffaut, and they went to Prague and they brought my family out.
Finalement, tout le monde s'est retrouvé à Paris. Que faire? Est-ce que Miloš devait rentrer en Tchécoslovaquie, sachant ce qu'il attendait en tout cas le cinéma tchèque? Sa femme a décidé de rentrer avec ses enfants et lui de rester. Ils se sont séparés à ce moment-là pour des années. Et il a décidé de tenter sa chance en Occident. Quelques mois après, nous repartions à New York pour enfin finir le scénario de Taking Off et le tourner.
Mais le retour à New York ne se passe pas comme prévu. La Paramount n'aime pas le scénario de Taking Off et refuse de financer le film. Forman doit repartir à zéro.
When finally Paramount turned down, definitely, for about a year almost, I didn't know really what to do. And then Helen Scott, she was the François Truffaut's, I don't know, assistant or secretary or whatever. She was in New York. I talked to her and she told me, that was her, she told me about this division at Universal which decided to make this experimental kind of films under $1 million. And she arranged me to meet Ned Tannen, and that's how Taking Off was arranged to be made at Universal.
Parmi ces films expérimentaux réalisés pour moins d'1 million de dollars, figurent Macadam à deux voix de Monty Hellman, Minnie et Moscovitz de John Cassavetes, et donc Taking Off. D'un côté des parents conservateurs, de l'autre leurs enfants fugueurs avides de nouvelles expériences. Et puis des jeunes filles en fleurs avec leur guitare. Mais les visages fermés et les chansons mélancoliques ne trompent pas. Taking Off est le film de l'exil, hanté par la fin tragique du printemps de Prague, Milos Forman enregistrant en Amérique ce qui vient de disparaître en Tchécoslovaquie et qu'il ne pourra plus jamais filmer dans son pays.
And someone to be, and even in the darkest of storms, you knew that the sun was still there, and even the horses had wings.
Critic in the papers was rather all right. Some was even very good, but the film was not really promoted very much because the studio, the Universal, didn't like the film. They didn't like the film. They, in funny way, I must say, for more or less political reasons, because they were disturbed by the scene where the parents are learning how to smoke marijuana, to experience the same thing as their children do, to better understand them, right? So this was politically very incorrect, and somehow, it turned the brass at the Universal off, I did Taking Off the same way, the only way I knew how to make films, the way I made them in Czechoslovakia. Screenplay has a little loose structure. I mix non-professional with professional actors. I encourage improvisations. I was at several screenings with the audience in the normal theater of Taking Off, and people enjoyed the film. They laughed during the film. I had a good time, and then suddenly the film stopped, and so what is that? That's the end? But who is the good guy? Who is the bad guy? Who won? Who won? And that was sort of... So in that moment I realized, that I can't, in the United States, make the film the same way with the same recipe as I did in Czechoslovakia. Also my language inadequacy forced me to turn to the works which were originally written in English, novels or plays, written by English-speaking writers.
Nous sommes au début des années 70 Et il reste un dernier film à réaliser avant que le cinéaste ne se révèle enfin au grand public. Un film dont les origines remontent aux années tchèques de Forman.
The book was written in 1962 by Kenkisi. Immediately, the rights were bought by Kirk Douglas. Yet no one studio wanted to finance the film about mental illness, you know. And he was in Prague on Goodwill Tour in 1965 or 6. And they showed him some of Czech films, among them one of mine, Love the Blonde. He liked it. And there in Prague, he suddenly, out of the blue, he asked me, you know, if, you know, he sent me the book and if I would read it and tell him if I'm interested to make a movie out of it. Because he realized, you know, that this guy must know how to make a cheap, you know, movie for little money. So, and he liked the film. So I said, of course, of course. Well, the book never came. About 7 years later, I think was, I'm already living in America, in New York, doing nothing. Suddenly I got in a mail a book, the same book, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, sent to me by the producers, Solzhenitsyn and Michael Douglas as a producer, son of Kirk Douglas. When I met Michael, first of all, I found out that he didn't know that his father sent me that book 7 years ago. Plus, when I met Kirk, he said, you son of a bitch, I sent you a book and you even didn't have a courtesy to tell me go and shove it. And I looked at him and said, well, Kirk, I thought the same thing about you. You know, the film, or you fill my head with the idea to go to America, you send me the book. You never did. Well, what happened was that he really did send me the book, but the censors in Czechoslovakia at the customs confiscated the book as subversive literature or whatever, and didn't tell him and didn't tell me. But suddenly the book comes back after 70 years to me, and so that was, and you know, funny thing was that, you know, all my American friends were telling me, listen, you know, don't touch, don't go near this book. It's such an Americana. How can you, an immigrant, understand that? You will, you know, break your neck. You will, it will not be good for you. You will ruin your career because you can't really do it. And I said, this is ridiculous what you are saying. This book, for you, it's a literature. But for me, it's life. I lived this book. I lived. The Communist Party was my big nurse, telling me what I can read, what I cannot read, what I can think, what I cannot think. I know more about this book than you do, because for you it's only a literature. And I think I was right. I knew what the film is about.
Why do you think they might think that?
Don't make a bit of sense to me.
Do you think there's anything wrong with your mind, really?
Not a thing, Doc. Excuse me, miss. Do you think it might be possible to turn that music down so maybe a couple of the boys could talk?
Your hand is staining my window.
J'ai passé une dizaine de jours sur le tournage avec lui à Salem, Oregon. C'était assez passionnant à voir. Et puis le film est sorti, il avait un pourcentage dans le film, je crois que 8 ou 10 mois ont passé sans que je le voie. Et je suis retourné aux États-Unis. Il habitait un appartement sur Central Park magnifique, où il est toujours, et il était en train de signer un chèque considérable aux impôts américains. On dit, bon, ça va, ça va. C'était comme Cendrillon. C'était vraiment passer du Chelsea Hotel à ça, c'était la baguette magique de Cinderella.
Oh, it changed my career a lot because suddenly it gives you a clout. Suddenly, people who would not normally would not answer your phone. You knock on the door, which normally would not open for you. Plus, it gives you a financial boost. Next film you make, you are asking for more money, and that's very important because finally, especially in this business, money gives you freedom to choose only what I really want to do and believe I can do it well. That's the way.
Après Volotunei Coucou, Milos Forman poursuivra sa galerie de portraits de personnages atypiques, avec les hippies de R par exemple, avec Mozart bien sûr, mais aussi avec le mania du porno Larry Flint, ou encore avec Andy Kaufman, le comique controversé de Man on the Moon. Des personnages un peu à l'écart du monde, dans un entre-deux, parfaits autoportraits d'un Milos Forman devenu américain, mais qui n'aura finalement jamais complètement oublié ses personnages de l'As de pique ou des Amants d'une blonde, et ses années de jeunesse et de libération par le cinéma, la danse, la guitare et le chant.